Fine. My horn fucking hurt as it refused to drag out vigilance. Something snapped inside me. You fuckers are keeping me from glory, I screamed, and, braces or not, charged right into the nearest spear-wielding pony. I didn't kick or bite her. Instead, I threw my entire body at her and bit hard on the half-spear as we went down together. Her teeth were rotten brown lumps. My teeth had the benefit of modern dentistry. Twisting hard, I tore the spear from her grip, rolled atop her, and drove the tip under her jaw, putting all my weight under the haft and driving the tip out of her ear. Twisting, I yanked the spear free as she thrashed and screamed. No time to finish her off as I rose, barely setting myself for the charge to the next 3 ponies. The first caught the tip in her chest, my shove driving it clear through her sternum as her momentum impaled her on the shaft. Then I was the pony slammed off my hooves by 2 earth pony males, far better suited for fights like this. I bounced across the field as more ponies came around into pony pile on security. My mouth burned as my teeth clenched down on a smoking piece of skywagon and slashed it across one mare's face, while my horn failed over and over again to do something as simple as draw a pistol. The mare yelled as her partner jumped on my back, driving my rump across my hocks as she stabbed at my shoulders with a carving knife. The plates at the edge of the bay as her head jerked again and again. I threw the scrap at the mare before rolling and thrashing wildly. Either she'd gotten lucky, or I'd just impaled myself with that roll. Either way, my left shoulder burned horribly as I knocked her free. I twisted my head, barely caught the handle with my teeth, and pulled it free. Oh, now I was bleeding too. Well, no time to worry about that now. I fell atop the tossed mare, ramming the carving knife into her windpipe and tearing as hard and brutally as I could. Something aerial split, and hot blood spluttered across my face. I grinned despite myself as I felt my own blood running down under my barding. They were getting the message. Unfortunately, it was the wrong one. "Shoot her!" some pony yelled, and from the shotguns and rifles being lifted, they were happy to do so. I screamed around my clenched teeth as I staggered to face the cut mare, twisting my hooves around her and jamming the knife into her shoulder. I wasn't trying to kill her. Yet. I twisted as hard as I could and put her between me and the compatriots as they opened fire. She screamed. There might have been a stop involved as I fought to keep her upright. Shots that penetrated through her thumped off my barding as they sprayed lead at both of us. New holes opened in my hide as she finally went limp and fell out of my grip. My armor glistened from the blood of 3 ponies covering half of it, and my eye glowed as I could annihilate them all with a glare alone. They stood in an arc before me, staring in horror as I rose. The braces hinged beneath my barding as they gave way. Only the broken remains kept me upright as I stood there and bled. "You can't kill me," I bellowed each word as they all scrambled to reload. The griffin begged to differ as she flew over me and drew a line across my rump with her minigun. I sat awkwardly as my legs shook. My horn flickered as I fought to pull out a weapon. A healing potion. Something. I clenched my eyes shut. I was going to fail. She was going to be trapped on the ground forever, because I wasn't tough enough. Because it wasn't good enough. A second line drew over my shoulders, and only my locked limbs kept me upright. The griffins were hovering over me now, instead of in just how long they could draw out using their miniguns before I expired. They were reloaded, and they were ready to go down on the crazy mare that defiled them. I took the deepest breath I could and screamed out, "Glory!" Every eye was on me. Every eye wasn't on the factory. The one griffin melted in a flash of pink goo as a trio of pegasi in dinged and pitted armor flew from the factory and sprayed pink disintegration bolts and slicing red beams. From the opposite side came a roar of 24 recently freed ponies armed with every weapon we'd picked up. They closed from both sides, like a manticore jaw. A griffin falling from the sky as her feathers went into flame, while another was blasted from the sky by a grenade shot that bordered on art. One mare, bleeding to death, was forgotten as they scrambled to their own defense. I felt my body giving out, as my useless limbs fumbled weakly for a healing potion. I managed to get one out of my bags, but the glass bottle slipped out from between my hooves and landed before me. I fumbled with it, the braces fighting me as my softened bones bent. I slowly started to fall over. I couldn't die now. I still needed a helper, and Lacuna, and Rampage. Every pony. Death could wait, damn it. My body couldn't keep on moving. It looks like I didn't need to worry about that taint after all. Then 2 hooves pushed me back upright, and the pain in my shoulder from the shove snapped me back from the fuzzy blackness. "Hang on," Scotch Tape said, through the sounds of the battle around us. She grabbed the bottle in her mouth and flipped it into her hooves, biting the stopper and pulling it free before holding it to my lips. "Here," she shouted. I drank the milky purple potion. I wasn't sure how much it helped, but I wasn't feeling any better. "Give me another," Scotch said as she dug in my bags, but I sighed. I shoved her away as one of Red Eye's raiders charged with a spear, the tip cutting the Olifilly's flank as it punched through my failing armor and drove deep into my side. "You die! For Red Eye!" the mare screamed before biting the haft to pull it out, determined that if they were going to die, she'd take me with her, and the filly as well. I bit hard on the spear in my side, jamming it inside of me. She might kill me, but I wasn't going to make it easy for her. She wouldn't kill any pony else for as long as I was alive, even if that was just for a few seconds. Get clear, Scotch. Sorry I didn't tell you about P21 sooner. Sorry. Glory. Then there was a loud bang beside me. Scotch Tape stared in shock at the hole that had opened in the mare's neck. The mare released the weapon, staggering away. Another 12mm hollow point blasted out another bloody chunk, then a third, and the mare fell limp beside me. I slumped over as I saw something die inside the teal eyes of Scotch's goggles. "Sorry," I muttered softly. Then she noticed me, and the gun tumbled to the dirt. "Blackjack, I have... Please don't die," she begged around her tears as she grabbed the spear in my side with her jaws. "No, don't pull..." But then I felt it pull out as I fell on my side. Then she was pouring healing potions down my throat as fast as she could pull out the stoppers. I think I just about cleaned her out as the fighting slowly died around us. She cradled my head as I stared up at the sky, really wishing I could look somewhere else. "Did we win?" "We won," P21 said. Slowly, I looked at the dozen or so ponies still standing, at the bodies of Red Eye's ponies lying amid the smearing heaps of pink goo and piles of ash. 2 Pegasi stood apart, seeming at a loss as what to do for this moment. They kept their guns pointed in my general direction as I grit my teeth and slowly shifted to my hooves, the broken braces struggling to keep me upright. "Blackjack, what are you doing? Wait and rest," P21 said as he tried to push me back down. "No. I need to talk to her. Now. Before she flies off." I took step after step towards her. I tried not to have my shooty look, but after being nearly painted in blood, I suppose any look of mine was pretty creepy. P21 kept me on my hooves as I swayed and then sat down hard. "Hello, Dusk." She tapped the side of her helmet. The armor retracted. The hard, dark eyes stared at me suspiciously. "How did you find me?" "Wind Whisper," I replied. "Luckily, you were nearby." I took a deep breath. "You owe me." "Agreed." "We could have..." she began, but then she looked at all the ponies lying around me and glanced at her companion. Her lips twisted sourly, and she shook her head. She sighed, narrowing her gaze as she glanced at me. "I guess I do." I nodded once. That was the one hurdle I was glad to be past. "You can repay me easily." The Dark Pegasus looked at me skeptically. 1. Help me back to the college. I'll tell you 2 when we get there." She certainly didn't look happy. Right now, she'd probably could have turned me into a glowing pile of goo. Heck, right now, I was so shut up that a hard sneeze would turn me into goo. "All right," But how are we supposed to get you there? She asked with a small frown. I glanced at their equipment. They call it power armor, not pussy armor, I replied. Funny. I never thought I'd fly Pegasus Airlines again. But here I was, slumped against dusk, as the pair winged their way through the cloud ceiling itself. Scotch Tape did all she could to keep me on the flying mare's back, while P-21 rode Dusk's companion, a mare named Lightning Dancer. So, what was all that about? I asked as we flew by a particularly solid-looking cloud. I mean, I looked at the spire of white, tipped with glowing amber talismans. A lightning rod, I presumed? I mean, why were you fighting Red-Eye? We're not. We have no interest in service or politics, Dusk said firmly. Well, then, what were you doing in Scrapyard? I asked. That was quite proud of myself for not insinuating that they were spreading tainted food. Buying scrap, obviously. She glanced back at my incredulous expression. I'm not sure if you noticed, but clouds don't have that much metal in them. But what does Thunderhead need with lots of metal? I asked with a smirk. Stuff, was all she said, and I doubted that I'd get more than that. So if you don't care, why fight? They attacked the town while we were negotiating salvage rights, Dusk said sourly. We would have withdrawn, but their griffins forced us to bunker down inside that factory. They attacked with a full wing, but left those three once we were cornered, leaving them in big trouble till I came along. We flew through a fissure that nearly reached the bottom of the ceiling. Looking up, I could see out of a distant band of blue. Maybe it was the blood loss, but I was finally getting over the urge to vomit as we made our way along. Then, through the fissure, I spotted a huge shape of odd uniformity that set out against the rest of the clouds, like a giant flying donut with its main axis perpendicular to the ground. The interior of the donut had been removed and replaced with a tier upon tier of buildings. Is that Thunderhead? I panted, marveling at the size of the actual city like long ago. Not a village with a few dozen or even hundreds of ponies, but tens of thousands. You are the second surface pony to see it, Dusk replied. It's amazing, I murmured. Then we were at the other end of the already closing fissure, and the sight was replaced with more gray. I imagined a smile from the pride in her voice. Yes, it is. Scotch Tape gave a sniff as her hooves tightened on me, making me wince. She hadn't said much since we left off. Are you okay, Scotch? Well, yeah, I'm fine, she murmured in a perfect not fine voice. What is it? I asked. She sniffed, pressing her face into my bloody, stiffened mane. I killed a pony. I didn't even think about it. I just pointed and... She shivered behind me. It wasn't like shooting the robots. I'm sorry, I said quietly, thinking back to the raider I'd killed with the broken tip of the rusty knife. I'd been so carried away that I'd never thought about it. I know it hurts, I said softly, reaching to pat her with my floppy hoof. It always hurts. It never gets any easier. That's not true, Dusk replied evenly. I really wished I could have smacked the Pegasus without falling a long way to my death. Once you've killed enough ponies, it's easy. Point, pull the trigger, and dead. She said quietly, and for a minute I'd thought she decided to stay silent for the rest of the trip. She did, after saying quietly, You kill enough ponies, and you can kill any pony.